glad to take any questions.
Senator, you really made a point to speak to younger people last night when the older candidate really won. I mean, do you really feel like the younger people put you back into office for a second term, and what does that say?
Well, there's an old saying in Massachusetts politics that it's great to have young people behind you, but they just don't vote in Massachusetts. Well, we put that old saw to rest yesterday because young people were activated and turned out in historic numbers here in Massachusetts, and they were very much interested in an agenda for change for our country, and they were drawn to my campaign, and I'm very gratified by that. But this whole year, it's just been an incredible example of how much young people want to see fundamental change in our country, and it's on the issues that are most important to them, and we saw that yesterday.
Senator, you worked alongside Ted Kennedy for a long time. There's been a lot of talk about the end of a Kennedy dynasty with this race. Do you think like the Kennedy machine has come off the Kennedy apple a little bit?
Again, I can only run as a Markey from Malden, which is what I did throughout this campaign, running on the issues that are important to the people in Massachusetts, and that's why it's so gratifying to have won last night. And beyond that, I just leave it to others to do their.
What lesson can other...
Excuse me? Well, again, I said when he had, I said when he announced a year ago, and I say the same thing today, that he had every right to run, and he had every right to raise his voice, and I think ultimately the Commonwealth is better for it. The country is better for it.
Senator, what lesson should other Democrats take from your victory in terms of where they should stand on issues? Well, just what lessons should they take?
Voters want big changes in our country. We're going through a pandemic. We're going through an economic depression, and we're going through a period of enormous racial tension. And what the voters of Massachusetts are saying in a clear, compelling way is that they want change in our country. They want that agenda on the floor of the United States Senate next year, and I think that message should be heard loud and clear across our country. We're only 2% of America's population, Massachusetts, but we last night sent a very strong message to the rest of the country about the agenda.
Is there a message in there specifically for Joe Biden as he runs his campaign against Donald Trump?
Again, my belief is that the message is that fundamental change is necessary, and that goes across the full spectrum of issues. And as you know, I am a wholehearted supporter of Joe Biden, and I think that is where this whole debate in October, heading into Election Day, is going to turn, because ultimately Donald Trump is a racist who has divided our country, who is criminally negligent, who has ignored all of the big issues that the voters of Massachusetts and the country want to have dealt with. And I think that is how, in my opinion, we are going to win in November.
Senator, how did this change you?
I'm sorry.
Can you get this progressive agenda, this fundamental change passed in either a Trump or a Biden who's more moderate administration?
Well, I think we're going to have a huge Democratic sweep this year. I think we're going to win the Senate, but we have to work hard to accomplish it. I think we're going to have a big win for Joe Biden, but we're going to have to work hard for it. We're going to have to put together a coalition that ensures that on the floor of the House and Senate next year, there is a progressive, change-oriented agenda that does have the votes to pass.
Senator, how did this challenge change you, if at all?
Well, the campaigns give the voters a chance to talk to candidates. And that's what happened over the last year. And for example, on the issue of criminal justice, with Rachel Rollins and Nika Elagato and Cory Booker, my conversations with them made it quite clear that there's something fundamentally wrong when the United States is 5% of the world's population and we have 25% of all the prisoners in the world behind bars in the United States, that we're only 5% of the world's population and 1/3 of all women in the world are behind bars in the United States. And that this whole system is fundamentally broken because we're criminalizing being black, being brown, being poor, being immigrant, being homeless, having substance or mental health issues, and that our prisons are filled with people who should not be behind bars. And so from my perspective, it's issues like that that I'm going to be partnering with Cory Booker on the floor of the Senate to address and to change, because we just have to end this school to prison pipeline. And so that happened on issue after issue throughout the course of the campaign, so that there is an agenda for 2021, an agenda informed by what voters most care about as you are talking to them in the course of a year out on the trail.
Senator, a lot was made about the lack of time.
Yeah, no, can I just so Shaman can ask a question, yeah, too, please, thank you.
There's been some talk about Congressman Kennedy not being done with elective office yet. Do you think he should seek another office?
I think that, again, for him and his family, those are decisions that he has to make for his future, and it would be. Again, I would leave any decisions just to his family, especially after the conclusion of one campaign. I would not presume to be able to give advice. I would say that they should be able to, in their own due time, be able to make a decision about what Congressman Kennedy and his family would like to plan for in the future.
Senator, this was a tough race, and a lot was made about the amount of time you spend in Massachusetts. You really become a Washington guy. Do you think now you'll spend more time here in the state?
Well, the job of a senator is to hear what the people of the state want, and then to go and legislate, to pass bills, which is why I'm so proud that I have more than 500 laws which are on the books. And what I've heard over the last year is that people want a Green New Deal in Massachusetts. People want immigration reform. People want full funding for Alzheimer's to find the cure by the year 2025. They want legislation to be passing. So my job will be down there to ensure that those laws do go on the books in order to protect the families here. But it's all going to be informed by the conversations that I've had with voters, with citizens all across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And again, there's a balance that has to be struck between being here and being down in Washington. But ultimately, the job of a legislator is to legislate. It's to take what you've heard and to then pass laws. And with 500 of them on the books already, I do know how to do that. And that's what I heard loud and clear. Make sure you put together the coalition so that you can successfully deal with the fundamental problems, issues that families in the Commonwealth are dealing with right now.
Senator, what are the next steps for getting the Green New Deal into reality? Critics would dismiss it as a non-binding resolution. You know, Mitch McConnell already tried to pull a fast one and bringing it to kind of floor and failed. So what's next?
Well, next is removing Donald Trump from the White House. He is the denier-in-chief He doesn't believe in science, and so it's absolutely critical that we do that. Then we have to remove simultaneously Mitch McConnell from the position of majority leader in the Senate. He is a representative of coal country, and he has been an adamant oppositionist to any fundamental change. So I think we have Election Day in 2020 as our moment where we can have a wave arrive that sweeps out these climate deniers and puts in those seats in the White House and in the House and the Senate the votes that we're going to need to pass fundamental climate change legislation, clean energy policies that will put millions of people to work while simultaneously saving the planet and ensuring that we do it with intersectionality, putting frontline communities at the front of the line to derive the benefits from those programs.
Senator, just to get back to the Kennedy legacy for a minute, what does this
Look again. The Kennedy family has served the Commonwealth and our nation with distinction for generations, and I revere their legacy and what they have done for our state and our country. And I myself was inspired by a call to service by President Kennedy. And that's what I continue to do with my career right now, as I know millions of people across the country are doing right now to advance a cause that it makes our society a more just society.
Senator, did you view the vote last night as a rejection?
Excuse me?
Did you view the vote last night as a rejection of that legacy, of that kind of behavior?
Well, again, I ran on an agenda which put together a progressive coalition on the big issues of today in 2020, and that is the Green New Deal. It is immigration reform. It's taking on the NRA to make it stand for not relevant anymore in American politics. I beat the NRA last year. I've beaten the oil and gas and auto industries in the past. I've led the charge for the $30 billion to find the cure for Alzheimer's. So on each and every one of those issues, that's what was on. That was what was on the agenda for this year. And then an election is a choice that voters have to make. And my progressive view of where our country has to go is the one that was chosen by the voters yesterday.
Senator, speaking of coalitions, Joe Kennedy last night talked about his coalition, which he defined more or less as working people who are bearing the weight of economic injustice. Is that part of your coalition too?
Oh, absolutely. And we fought very hard to win the votes of every community in Massachusetts, and I am going to be representing the aspirations, the hopes, the dreams for every community in the Commonwealth. That is my job, and that is what I ran on. And I am not going to do anything other than be a representative for that progressive agenda for all communities, whether or not they may have had a majority in their community last night.
Senator,
Okay.
your Republican opponent is in your hometown right now. He's in Malden. He's with, Massachusetts Municipal Police Association is backing him. He says that you can't even look the cops in the eye. What do you have to say to that?
I really don't know a lot about my Republican opponent right now, other than the fact that he says that he is an ardent Donald Trump supporter. And I don't think the state of Massachusetts this year has any intention of giving Donald Trump another vote on the Senate floor to block a progressive agenda being implemented next year in the United States of America. Beyond that, I really don't know anything about my opponent, and I'm looking forward to learning about him, and so that'll happen in the course of the campaign.
Will you debate him?
That'll be John Walsh right here, my great campaign manager. John Walsh is right here. You can talk to him about any details, any interaction with my opponent's campaign. Thank you all. Thanks so much for being here.